Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar, which is called How to Leverage AI in Customer Service QA. My name's Chris. I work in customer success at Klaus, and today I'm joined by my colleague Mervi, who is a data science lead. And Mervi is going to take you through, she's going to show you much of her expertise. So I'll pass over to you, Mervi.
Thank you, Chris. Can we get the slides? Yes, thank you. So my name is Mervi. I have a PhD in applied physics, and I've built mathematical models from how energy is transferred in a heart cell to how light propagates in optical fibers. And for the past 7 years, I've also built machine learning models that understand text in contact centers. In Klaus, I lead a team of scientists and machine learning engineers that nurture and develop the cleverest data pipeline that makes these AI magical things possible. Today, we talk about how crucial it is to build this optimal sample for reviewing. I can't stress it enough. This can make or break your entire QA program. And building this optimal sample is a data mining job. If you only can do very little, it is a hard data mining job. As a QA professional, you should not be data miner. And in Klaus, we understand that. And that is why we have 4 PhDs to try to make this work for you so you don't have to. I want to start with some cautionary tales about what perils there are in navigating the data. First, on average, 35% of your help desk data has nothing to review. There is no dialogue, no real contact. If you have very active bots or system messages that bombard your help desk, it is not unusual to have more than 90% of your content completely review ineligible. Another data fact is that average scorecard has 11 categories, but it's not very uncommon to have 20, 40, I've even seen up to 90 categories. Human cognitive capacity for differentiating categories is 8. So there's already a problem there. On top of that, average conversation has just 6 messages. Half of the conversations have 3. So, and obviously you want to squeeze all the possible knowledge out of all the tickets or each of the tickets that you review. If that agent only said 2 sentences, can you really expect to get good data on how empathic the agent was? How were their listening skills? Their methods of probing, how good they were in follow-up, and did they invite the customer to try this new feature, plus 5 other categories. This can create bad data, and nothing is worse than bad data. You'll waste your review effort, but you won't really know anything or much about your quality. It's a little bit like you pick a spot near your place and task someone to review if there are fish there or not. Reviewer goes and sees that, oh, the spot is a mountain, so marks that no fish. What decisions can you really make with this data? Another treacherous path is that there are some myths about building sample that I want to debunk. First is cherry picking. I don't want to build specific filters because it can create bias, and I don't want to cherry pick. On average, 2% of the conversations get reviewed. This is what it looks like, this 2%. You'll always be cherry picking, so it's okay to pick, and you better pick well. Second myth is random is diverse. If I always choose my conversations randomly, then that gives me a very nice mix of content. I know that this graph looks maybe a bit daunting, but if you internalize it well, you become invincible in making the best sample possible, because this is a governing pattern for many aspects in contact center metadata. So how does one read it? If you have some occurrence, that can take several values. Example is, for example, conversation and how many characters it has. It can be how many words it has, how many messages there are in a conversation. And you take a large amount of these conversations, let's say like a month worth of conversation. And you pick from there what is the conversation with smallest words or characters, and you pick the one what is the maximum value for characters it can have. And then you take that distance and you divide it into equal intervals. And then you count out of all of the conversations that you had, how many fall in each division. And boom, you know what are more popular and what are less popular. The higher bar happen more often, and the lower bars, not so much. Very big picture to take from this is something is typical in your contact center and something is not so typical. In review context, maybe you already know what is the typical part, and the atypical is something that you have much more room to grow. Another learning from that is, since here you have all the possible values and some are more frequent than others, then if you randomly select one item, you are more likely to end up with something that you have more of. If you select very few, for example, these 5 dots out of 250 to keep the 2% coverage, you'll likely pick from the typical. So random is not diverse. Yes, it is better than not having any mixing at all and picking just the freshest, but it does not guarantee you a very diverse sample. In Klaus, we totally understand that, and that is why we have built a Spotlight feature. It used to be called Complexity, but it's its 2-year anniversary, so we renamed it. And what it does, it makes it possible to focus immediately in these less occurring things. In a very simplified illustration, we mark conversation that are here on this pink area. These are your must review because something is out of ordinary there. So if you want diverse, start with Spotlight before and then do random sorting after that. In the Klaus AI suite, we have Spotlight for selecting this must review. We have sentiment analysis in 8 different languages to pick conversations that have customers expressing some kind of frustration or delight if you choose to go that way. We have out-of-the-box automatic CSAT comment categorization that figures out what is the free form comment about. We have on-demand translation, so you can use reviewers that don't speak specific language in that the help desk data is in. And we have conversation insights that where you, if you feel strong enough, you can do data mining and you can verify your coverage. So with that, I will jump to the product. So this is what conversation insight looks like. And today we marked, starting from today, we have marked all of these AI bits with this hologram, with this little rainbow colored thing that kind of describe what it does. For example, we have automatic language detection that directly predicts what the language is from the content. And you can understand what they do. So what you can do here is first, you can evaluate your review ratio, how many tickets you can actually cover to understand where you stand, more or less. You can also see how many negative conversations you have. This is our own data, by the way. We don't have that many tickets. And you can see what's the ratio of positive. And then you can do interesting bits like that. For example, if we take CSAT. For our CSAT is very good, which makes it very bad because we don't really have negative CSAT. Like we have 5s and 4s, thanks to Chris and Diana, who do our amazing support. So how to pick these frustrated conversations? And this is where sentiment can help. That even though CSAT is positive, there might be still something there that is negative. And also, most people still struggle with a CSAT response rate, so that sentiment can be used also as a proxy for negative CSAT. There is correlation. There is correlation there. And another thing that we have completely unique in Klaus is that you can mine into the data by agent's performance. So what we read here, or how to read these two plots, is we have 340 conversations, and these 340 are done by these 9 agents. But agents are not the same. They do not perform the same way, everyone. For example, this is the same kind of distribution, looking at ranking agents by how many tickets each person does. You can see that there are very few, like this is an example, there's very few that can do very much. And there's some that do kind of like high amount, some medium bunch of people, some that do very little. And then what is characteristic in all of the help desks that I've seen is there's a bunch of people that only manage to do 1 ticket. So this is packed into these rings. To illustrate, we have this highest performing agent by volume, and we have 1 person, and that 1 person does 227 conversations out of 340. So you can quickly jump into these higher performing ones. And you can see that conversely, this 1 person, these are her tickets, and you can go and pick that person's negative conversations. On the very right, the conversation list also changes. You have to trust me that it does, but I can't show you this content. And on top of selecting agents or being able to dive into the content based on how many conversations they do, we have also possibility where agents are compared based on what is their CSAT. So here I can select all the agents that, for us it's 1 because we don't have that many, one that whose relative CSAT is lower than all of the others. If I look actually what these CSATs, what their CSATs are, it's 4s and 5s, but relatively it's worse than someone else. And same way for sentiment, to cover this gap where you don't have CSAT or give additional information about that. So you can very low commitment pick areas. You can also do this overview to check how many agents have you covered, what is your agent blind spot. Like for us, we haven't reviewed 7 of these, so we don't know anything about their performance. So you can quickly jump into these conversations that you want to review. Yeah, but there's only 10 of these, so maybe not so interesting. And then next I want to show you this latest model that we have. It's the CSAT prediction. So here it's in our CSAT dashboard. And in the bottom, you can see the free comment that was left. We segment these also by size, because we saw that 25% of the comments only have one word. So like size is a very good way to quickly jump into this, or maybe like even ignore the very, very short ones. And then we have something that understands the comment. For example, quick and prompt answer, thank you, is labeled as good support and fast support. And you can quickly pick something that is longer, that obviously if the customer has bothered to write something longer, you should read it, because there's likely something there that we cannot predict automatically. It's something very unique. And you can quickly also check different areas like agent-specific feedback, complaint crumbs. Like these are all of the things that we can find. For example, you can then check what all of the customers said that we're talking about fast support. So even if you don't have CSAT survey done via Klaus, which you can do because it's awesome, you can have your comments analyzed if you use Klaus. And now I can jump back to the slides. Yes. So what we should always keep in mind if we do reviews or if we build this sample is, I would advise start always with Spotlight to make sure that you get this less occurring content in, and then rest of it, if you still have capacity to do more, choose random. Pick your, try to avoid blind spots, and blind spots you can figure out in the conversation insights. Use sentiment analysis as a proxy for CSAT, and always go and read through the long CSAT comments. This is valuable for wider organization, like if you want product input or where the customer has really bothered to write something specific. We have seen that this is a very quick way to jump into stuff that you should definitely see. And now I can take questions.
Thank you, Mervi, for that presentation. So now, yeah, please ask your questions in the chat on the right-hand side. You should see that there, and we can answer them. We've got quite a bit of time actually to answer questions, so please go ahead. We already have one coming from Kalina, who says it's a very good question. A question that comes up quite a lot when I'm speaking to our customers. So Kalina wants to know, relating to evaluating low CSAT conversations, I know it's highly recommended that QA goes through them all. I'm wondering how to do that without significantly tilting the results of agents towards the negative. What is your experience? Mervi, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, if you do not penalize agents for having negative, then this is something valuable that you can learn anyway. But what I would do here with this CSAT is low CSAT, I would check with predicted drivers and check the longer ones, because it can happen that the actual issue had nothing to do with agent. So you can review and give, actually the agent can get nice IQS from this. And if you have the same pattern for all of the agents, then one is not kind of like in worse position than the others. Like if you go and check low CSAT for all of them, you can hopefully iron it out. And this is also where the conversation insight low CSAT ranking can be used. Sometimes it's because they just do so much more, and that's why they have lower ranking.
Mm-hmm. This definitely comes up, does come up a lot. But what we normally say is, obviously, don't only review negative CSAT. Don't just get a filter, see the negative CSAT and review those, because that will skew it towards a negative. Possibly, as Mervi said, it's possible also that they can get great QA scores from that because it might be product related or something else. But don't only do those. The question is, then what's the best way to get a sample of all CSAT to make it kind of balanced and not just heavily on the negative? Borislav has a question. It's not related to this theme, but still, let's see where this is going. So whenever I go through the bad ratings in CSAT, it's really confusing and hard to remember which I've already reviewed. Is there a chance that you can maybe add something which shows us the ones that have already been so, to say, opened, reviewed?
If they have been reviewed, like as as a conversation, then that is marked, but opened.
Yeah, reviewed should show. If you're going through CSAT tickets, you click on a ticket which has a CSAT from the dashboard. If you go through to the ticket, you'll see there's a review. But this has come up before. When you are on the CSAT dashboard, you look at a ticket which has a CSAT score. It doesn't actually show that ticket's already been reviewed internally, but that is a feature request. So if that's what you're talking about, Borislav, that is something which we plan to do to make it easier for you to see which ones have already been reviewed and which ones you need to do. But you can also create filters, like create a filter in the conversation view that the satisfaction score is good or bad or 5 or 4, whatever, and the status is not reviewed. The conversation status is not reviewed. Will give you the tickets which haven't been reviewed yet. I'll also say that if you are a Klaus user, please do get in touch if you wanted to. If you want to discuss with your success manager, if you have one, or you want to chat with our support team, please do get in touch with us to have more conversations about this. When selecting tickets for agents for self-review, would you recommend using the sentiment filter as well to make them review the negative scores they received from the customer, or also a mix of everything?
If you have capacity, obviously mix of everything. If you do not have capacity, then something that is very interesting for me is negative conversations that have received positive feedback, like positive CSAT. Because this is something that we can see that the customer came in with some kind of frustration or expressed frustration somewhere during the conversation. But even so, something in the handling, what the agent did, they were happy with it. So like this is a very good way to find something that if you want to like find good examples, like I would hunt there. And also if because like how negativity is handled, sometimes it's more interesting than just CSAT. And obviously because it's a general model that evaluates CSAT, like don't be alarmed if sometimes you really don't agree with the sentiment assessment. This is something that the machine learning people always say, but it's human benchmark is 80%. We disagree on simple thing as humans, like what do we consider negative or positive. So no machine can be higher than that, and it is highly subjective. But since we have it ready built, you don't have to do any implementation, you don't have to collect any keywords. It's there to help you. If you think that I don't really agree with it, just pick next one. It helps you definitely to shift through the content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I use it a lot when we're doing our internal reviews, and it's really is helpful. And you sometimes, I don't agree or it doesn't. So I got one recently that said, "Oh, the weather's terrible here," and it flagged that as negative sentiment, even though it's not related to the actual conversation. That's what machines are going to do, but it's still massively helpful.
But there's interesting things with how words are perceived or how text is perceived, even though like obviously like our understanding of context is much better than any machine, but it sort of primes you anyway in some level if there is a negative word there. Maybe it's not that obvious and we can kind of like buffer it out with our intelligence, but some level it is there if it's a negative word. But regarding Arseni's question, if we should go through all the bad reviews, I would suggest also to check first the ones that have comments. And if you go into checking comments, then check the longer comments first, then check the comments that are not so long, and then from then, because if they really bother to write something and they leave a negative review, then it's either that they were very, very unhappy with their service that they got, or there's something that they complain about your product, your policy, something about the company, which again, it has nothing to do with agent.
I also wouldn't agree with that. That from my perspective, you should go through all bad reviews because you need to make sure you need to validate everything. Go through all the reviews. Is there actually a problem there, or is it something else? The answer I think before was that you shouldn't do bad reviews only. So you shouldn't say, okay, for this agent, I need to do 50 reviews, and I'm going to take those 50 reviews from negative CSAT tickets, because then you will generally see a more negative score. There'll be an avalanche of negative feedback for the agent, possibly. So it should be part of a larger sample. But you should still try and go through everything. That's my personal approach to it. There's a question from Joe as well. Joe Holton. Oh. Is it possible to filter conversations where the ticket solved due to the customer not responding? Good question.
Not if so under conversation insight, no, but that is not covered. Under conversation insight, we have this automatic trash filter enabled. Basically, like all conversations where there is agent says something and then the customer doesn't say anything, these are immediately taken out. But if you want to create filter yourself, at the moment we don't have that capacity, because then we would really need to understand what like either the agent said something in the end that we can grasp that customer didn't say anything. But one way to avoid these is again the complexity, because for sure customer said many things and the agent also there, so you can like this is another way to go at it, but this kind of like filters out not the complexity, the spotlight. I mix them up still. This is how you can get also these like there's maybe not something valuable to review.
I'm guessing, Joe, that you want to filter out these tickets so you don't review them because they're not as useful, or maybe you want to put focus on them because to see how agents are wrapping up these conversations. I'm not sure either way, but as Mervi said, you can use complexity, You could also add an automatic tag or ask agents to add a tag to these tickets and then filter them out in the normal conversation filters. You could also use ticket content. So I know at Klaus, what we do is after a week of no response, we send out a macro to the customer to say, we haven't heard from you for a while. We're going to close this. This is how you can get back in touch with us. Then you could use ticket content includes one of those words or threads. So there's a few options to explore. But yeah, please, if you still hit a brick wall with that, please approach us. You can email me, go for support, chris@klausapp.com. All right. Any other questions or follow-ups? We have a few more minutes. Did we miss any from the chat? I think we answered Arseni's question.
Just to add to Arseni's question about reviewing by the number of words from the customer. Again, this number of words from the customer you cannot filter at the moment, but soon we will build also this capacity that all of the or some of the metadata that we calculate right now in our data pipeline. For example, how many agents were present or participated, like as a number. So you can quickly give me all the tickets where there were more than 3 agents participating or something like that. And also like the based on the length. But like I would again push this spotlight because this has already that baked in a little bit. We can do maybe more there actually if you ask, but because like this, how many words from the customer is okay or how many is normal, like this is baked into the spotlight, and it's as much as I know from the help desk metrics, typical metrics, I worked with it for 2 years. They don't really process the text post the fact, so it's hard to do it from there also. But it's also like number of words together has to be with number of messages because they are very dependent on each other. So it's very hard to just pick this number of word count just like that. See, it's already like going into being a hard data mining exercise.
I'm glad the questions keep coming. This is good. I was worried no one was going to ask. We'll end it 25 minutes early. So could be an obvious answer. Let's see. Any advice on how to rate tone of voice when the response is a macro? We have internally decided to give full points because we like to encourage the correct use of macros.
For the what would the mashing of data perspective, I would not, but I would then have another category that just where you rate the appropriateness of macro usage, because that is more like then you actually measure what you say that you measure. Some of our customers have that as a category also, appropriate macro usage.
Yep. I think it's really important because there's nothing worse than getting in touch with a company and getting an obvious macro response that is just the laziest approach to things. So I think having a category like the appropriate use, also maybe either have a separate category or merge into that one category. Did the agent personalize the macro as well? That's very important. Did they personalize it, make it clear actually that it's not a macro, they're just using it to save time? So yeah, but I think it's a good idea to have a category, and if it's a correctly used macro that the customer is going to be happy with, then yeah, it should get full points. Any further questions? We have another few minutes. Okay, Arseni has another question. Just looking from the point of view that it just would be great to decrease the amount of work by not looking through all the bad reviews and have the option to sort them somehow. I got the idea about comments and, of course, checking through not reviewed chats, but still.
Well, I would add there also, if you go into comments, if you want to decrease, you can, we have this comment predicted driver that is like bad support. You can filter into these. If you see if something comes up, especially like bad support and agent specific, this is where we can catch that something was said specifically about the agent, and also measuring about support, not just your policy or company. Obviously, if people are agitated, these things get mixed up, but that's why you need to go and review these things.
Yeah, there's a comment from Kalina as well. Comment more than a question. So the correct or incorrect use of macros could be attributed to solution as well, depending on the macro. In my scorecard, personalization is a subcategory of tone of voice, so the use of macros also falls under there. That's also an approach you can use, yeah.
Cool. That I can maybe say something little bit what we're working on. We're working on doing automatic grammar evaluation. Mentioning of macros brought this to my mind. And what we've seen also is that there is macro usage, and how people have then personalized it, they have introduced errors. So this is something that we're working on catching automatically in sometimes next year. Heather has a question about if it's possible to use Spotlight data within a filter outside of the insights section. This is another one of these coming soon things. Not at the moment, but it works with any filter. So whatever filter you have built, if you select the Spotlight in sort option, this is kind of applied. But you cannot build it in a regular filter. You can do assignments with this though, but not at the moment. Coming soon.
Okay, Ismail asks, is it possible to change the scorecard after completing the monitoring? Okay, so you have a chat, you're evaluating a chat, but the chat scorecard wasn't selected, so it was incorrect. It isn't possible to change that at the moment. We've requested it, but we don't know. You basically have to delete the review and do it again. There's no way to change the scorecard because the scorecard could be completely different from the one that you've actually graded. However, there is conditional scorecards. So if you don't know, on the professional plan, you can go to the workspace settings and you can make your scorecard conditional, meaning that it appears automatically based on certain criteria. So you could say, when the ticket is chat, select the chat scorecard, and then it's selected automatically, and then these errors don't happen.
Actually, I had an idea with Arseni also. If you want to reduce and check these negative CSATs or negative comments, I would also, again, apply sentiment on top of it and complexity for also this CSAT to see if that kind of can get you where you want to go faster or with less effort.
So if you do have further questions, you can come to our chat, which you can access through the website, or you can go to from inside the app. There's the question mark on the black toolbar, bottom left, where you can chat with us. So please don't hesitate to talk to us. And if it's something that goes over our head, then we can always get in touch with Mervi. We can pass on your
Yes,
messages and questions to Mervi.
yes. We are always looking for something simple we can catch with NLP or natural language processing tools, because there's a lot of stuff that agent do that is sort of simple, and then it is also then later reviewed. And sometimes reviewing these things, like if someone said hello, is a bit tedious. So we want to do these things automatically for you. So this really evaluating empathy or tone, or like how the process was carried out, this can be left for reviewers to make their work also more interesting.
All right, then I think we'll wrap it up there. You know how to get in touch with us. Thank you so much for attending. I hope it was useful. And yeah, let's stay in touch. Have a nice rest of your day.
Thank you so much.